We are the I generation. Music has become more portable than ever with the birth of the MP3 player. They've become incredibly popular. The iPod alone has sold over 150 million units worldwide as of March 2008. Now, just out of curiosity, how many people here listen to some sort of MP3 player on a regular basis? Yeah, I do too. I myself am an avid music listener. But I'm also very interested in acoustics, and I'm a card-carrying member of the Audio Engineering Society. And what you may not know is that listening to these MP3 players with the supplied earphones have the potential to cause serious hearing damage. Now, in this presentation, I intend to first show just how loud these things can get and what the associated hearing risks are, and then try to find a solution to the problem. What can we do about it? What would be better? So first, I think it's important to know just how we measure sound. Just how do we measure volume? There are a number of ways. There's sound pressure level, phones, sones, particle velocities, etc. But the most common is sound pressure level because it's easily measured with a simple instrument. And it literally measures the pressure in the air as a result of the sound wave. And this is in reference to a reference pressure, which is the threshold of human hearing, which is like a mosquito at 3 feet away, 3 meters rather. So this is measured in decibels, which is dB. But unfortunately, this is not quite how the human ear hears. Our ear doesn't hear every frequency the same. Some seem louder than others, even when they're at the same sound pressure level. So to illustrate this, I have a graph. Each of these red curves here represents a equal loudness contour. And what this means is along each of these lines, the sound is the same despite it being at different decibel levels for different frequencies. And what you can see is that about 3 or 4 kilohertz is where the ear hears the best. So what's normally done is when you take the sound pressure level, when you measure it in dBA, which is you add an A weight to it, meaning that you try to cancel out the effect of this non-flat frequency response. So now that we know a little bit about how we measure sound, let's talk about what kind of sound levels can come out of our devices. A 2007 study by Hodgetts, Rieger, and Sarko addressed these concerns. They took a sample of adults with 3 different types of headphones and 3 different noise environments and told them to turn up the volume until it was comfortable for them to their preferred listening level. And no surprise, when the noisy environments were noisier, they turned their volume of the music up higher because we have to compete with that noise in order to hear our music loud and clear. No surprise there. But the other thing that they did is that they turned up their devices to the maximum volume and then measured the decibel level at the ear. Then they calculated how much time it would take to get to the prescribed noise dosage level for an entire day as prescribed by OSHA. Meaning, this is how much noise your ears can take in a day before you start getting hearing loss. Here are the results. As you can see in the minutes column, none of these headphone types took more than 15 minutes to get to the prescribed dosage level for an entire day. So clearly, these things can get much louder than they need to be. So what really happens when you're exposed to these high sound levels? Well, there are a number of health concerns, the number one, of course, being noise-induced hearing loss, which according to a 2004 book by Royster, is the number 2 cause of hearing loss worldwide. Other health effects include tinnitus, hypersensitivity, and distortion of pitch, which is known as diperclusis. Now, tinnitus is another very common one. You may have gotten it yourself. It's the ringing in your ears after maybe a loud rock concert. Jastroboff proposed the following definition in his book on the subject. Tinnitus is the perception of sound that results exclusively from things within the nervous system, meaning that no one else can hear it. There's no audible pitch, but you hear a constant buzzing or ringing sound. And for some people, this never goes away. And in fact, there is no cure. So clearly, this is of some concern. So we see that there is a problem when we have these MP3 players or portable devices combined with their supplied headphones. Now, what's the solution? What can we do? What can we design that would make this not a problem? Well, the first thing I need to do is define the scope of the problem. which is to say that it's not a problem with the device, but a problem with the headphones. So, is it a problem with the device? Well, some people would like to say so. In fact, in Louisiana, 2 years ago, a man sued Apple because he said that these products, the iPod, have the potential to cause hearing damage. His lawyer said he's paying for a product that's defective, and the law is clear that if someone sold you a defective product, they have a duty to repair it. But is the iPod in and of itself a defective product? And the answer, of course, is no, of course not. Can you imagine if Apple did put a volume cap on its iPod? This is exactly what they did in France. They made it so that with the headphones that come with the iPod, you cannot get anything higher than 100 decibels at your ear. But what if I'm not using those headphones? What if I want to use my own, something bigger, maybe portable speakers? Well, those require more power. And at that same volume level that the cap would be at, these speakers or larger headphones would be at too quiet a volume for me to enjoy. So this clearly is not a blanket solution. And in fact, a 2004 study by Flieger and Cox corroborated this by saying that the decibel output of various portable audio devices varied depending on the headphones that are being used. So if the problem is with the headphones, what can we do to design them better? And the answer is sound isolation. Sound isolation is the key to minimizing hearing risks. Now, the first part about sound isolation is passive sound isolation. And that's when you simply have something like a foam that can absorb sound, and it converts acoustic energy to heat energy, trace amounts. So I have here just a simple sine wave. Imagine this is a sound wave. Now, when it hits something like foam, which is what's in the earphones that you have, maybe the canal phones that stick deeper into your ears rather than the simple earbuds that fit on the outside, the wave attenuates, meaning that the amplitude of the wave gets a little bit smaller. And that's what we want. But this works best for higher frequencies. Remember that, that's important. Now, in contrast to passive sound isolation, there is also active sound isolation. This is known as noise canceling. Here's a diagram of this process. Now, it takes a microphone that takes in the sound from outside and phase shifts it 180 degrees. Now, that phase shift makes every peak a valley and every valley a peak in the wave. When you add them together, it effectively cancels them out if all goes well. Now, this sounds really good, but unfortunately it's not quite as good as it sounds. According to active noise control by Rosenhaus, that noise cancellation works best with repetitive, low-frequency noises. But if you remember from before, the passive sound isolation works best with high frequencies. Put this together with active, and if done ideally, you could have the perfect solution. So in conclusion, it's a combination of passive and active sound isolation. That's the key to minimizing hearing loss. We've seen a number of ways to measure volume, but no matter how you measure it, these devices with the supplied headphones can create seriously damaging sound levels. Now, we know that the problem isn't with the device, but with the earphones. And when you have a combination of both passive and active noise cancellation, you can minimize this hearing risk by eliminating the competing noise that's in the environment, so that way you can listen to your music loud and clear at safe levels. Now, to leave you here today, I have a quote that I'd like to read. This is by the National Acoustic Laboratories in Australia in 2005. They said up to 25% of people will have hearing problems caused by listening to their iPods at excessive and damaging levels. 25%. Let's hope this doesn't become true and we don't all become part of a statistic. Thank you.